What's up, XFactor Nation? It's your boy XFactor 27 coming back to you guys again today. I got another video from Wrestle with Andy. It's about wrestlers that use face paint and stuff. So people like Jeff Hardy, Ultimate Warrior, Pimp all them guys like that, man. So Andy's a great YouTuber. Make sure you guys go subscribe to him. Link to the original video will be down below. But let's not waste no time. Let's get into this.
It's always been a thing that certain performers will don the paint in order to either tell us something about their character or just to look cool. And that's certainly been effective for the likes of Sting, the Road Warriors, or the Great Muta historically. But what about the modern day? Who are those stars of the present who have kept the tradition of painting your face alive? Well, that's exactly who we're going to be looking at right now, starting with Darby Allin. That's right, if you've been a fan of AEW since that company formed in 2019, then you'll be all too aware of Darby Allin, a man who many compare to a young Jeff Hardy. Why is this? Well, because pretty much every time he enters the ring, he makes us fear for his safety in a way which we can't take our eyes off of what's happening on the screen. But then it's not just his daredevil theatrics which have gotten him over. No, it's also his habit of wearing face paint. Of course, in the case of the Seattle native though, this is way more than him just trying to look cool. No, there's a deeper meaning behind why he wears the paint. And that meaning is that it's supposed to represent the reason he lives the lifestyle he does. You see, when Darby was a young man, he was involved in a pretty bad car accident, one which he was very lucky to survive. And so ever since that day, he's chosen to live life to its fullest, with his logic being that half of him passed away back then, and so he wanted to make sure the other half experienced everything it could before his time was up in full. So when he paints half his face in skull makeup then, this is telling the audience that this is the dead half of him, the half that doesn't care how dangerous it is to get powerbombed out of the ring while in a body bag, or to do a dive through a pane of glass. No, as far as the former two-time TNT champion is concerned, all of this is just a part of getting everything he can out of life. And given he's one of AEW's most popular stars right now, especially with kids, we expect this attitude will eventually see him throw himself recklessly into a world title run, possibly by even being the one to beat Jon Moxley. But what about the face-painted stars of...
Yeah, I didn't know that about Darby though, man. Darby is so good, man. Like Andy just said, I really wish, hopefully this year, and I really think he needs to be the one to beat Moxley. I've been thinking that the same thing for real. Darby being the one to beat Moxley would be great for his character, and Darby's so underrated. And I didn't know that about the car crash though, I really didn't, man. But Darby do stuff that I'd be scared for his life, to be honest with you, man. I couldn't do that stuff, but like Andy said in the video, man, it just shows how daredevil Darby is. He's like a modern day Jeff Hardy pretty much, and that just shows how God has plans for everything, and that's what it was. He's doing what he's doing. Official AEW World Champion, hopefully soon.
WWE. Well, for that, we need to start by looking at none other than Finn Balor. Now, we should specify that we're not talking about Finn Balor all the time here. No, for the most part, he actually performs without makeup, especially these days when he's playing the role of the Prince in the Judgment Day. But historically, he has brought out a darker side of himself from time to time, one which requires him to take on a different form, that of the Demon. Yes, whether it be in NXT or on the main roster, whenever things have gotten particularly hard for the Irishman, he's been able to call upon his final boss incarnation, and in doing so, he'll paint his face in a very aggressive way. But it's not just his face he paints when he does this. No, whenever the demon is unleashed, Balor will also cover his body in paint too, with this often being the most intimidating part of the whole look. Of course, anyone who watched him back during his days on either the UK indie circuit or as part of the New Japan roster will be well aware of his penchant for going theatrical. After all, back in those days, he was a legend of cosplay in many ways, as he would often come out to the ring dressed like comic book characters such as the Joker, Bane, or Venom. And ever since joining WWE, he's continued using the face paint with his demon incarnation. Sure, we might not have seen this version of him for a while now, not since 2021 in fact, but we've no doubt that when the time is right, it'll make a return. And when it does, it'll spell doom for whoever his opponent is on that night. Come on now, in all the appearances the Demon has made over the years, he's rarely ever lost, so don't expect him to be doing many more jobs in the future the next time the demonic face paint appears. Or who knows, maybe next time we see Finn Balor wear the paint, it'll be something different again. This is, after all, a man who likes to evolve his character from time to time. That's right, it's entirely possible the next evolution of his dark side will be something we haven't seen at all yet. One thing it likely won't involve though is any comedy. No, if we want a more comedic face paint.
Yeah. I remember when he was doing his run in the Indies. I remember him doing some of the cosplays and stuff like the Freddy and the Joker one. But you guys didn't know the reason he said he doesn't do it as much. Like I think the last time he did it was when he fought Edge in 2021 in that steel cage match or Hell in a Cell match. It takes so long. He said he would be in makeup for hours, and he really, really hated that for real. But whenever he does go back to that demon form, which I think is gonna be against Dominic for that Intercontinental Championship, it's sowing the seeds for it. Even though he still is the ultimate hater right now in my rankings or whatever, it's gonna be something serious. I think, like Andy said, it's gonna be something very, very, very new. And Finn always like to involve his character, and dude got abs for day, man. I wish I had them kind of abs, but I gotta get my diet together for this. So, but yeah, the next version, next time we see the demon, it's probably gonna be something major and something very, very cool. So looking forward to it. Still ultimate hater though.
Painted character, then we have to head back over to All Elite Wrestling, as it's there we find our next subject, Danhausen. Yes, what a weird character Danhausen is. An apparent demon who thrives on evil, but who doesn't want to come across as too evil, otherwise people won't like him. Yes, this is why he has the catchphrase of very nice, very evil. He wants to soften his image to the public, and it certainly worked because ever since his days on the indie circuit working for promotions like House of Glory, Game Changer Wrestling, and Ring of Honor, he's always gotten over with live crowds. That said, he'd reach another level of notoriety again in early 2022, as that was when he joined the AEW roster. And there, his face paint, which is based on the demon from The Exorcist, managed to make him a big hit with children, so much so that he turned into a bit of a merchandising machine.
Yep.
Needless to say then, this meant he'd get a lot of TV time for a while, usually as a mascot of sorts for the best friends. But he wasn't just standing at ringside all the time. No, he would occasionally get into the ring himself too. Unfortunately though, in recent months, a collection of injuries have seen him largely disappear from TV, with it currently being unclear if and when he'll return. Does this mean he'll end up jumping to WWE at some point down the line in order to share a locker room with his real-life friend CM Punk? It's certainly possible. And if he does, we've no doubt his makeup will help him make a bunch of merch money in WWE too. But for the time being, we'll have to wait and see if he returns to AEW in order to reforge his partnership with an Orange Cassidy or a Chris Statlander. Of course, if you're someone who can't wait for that, well, you can still catch him at an indie show here and there, usually along the East Coast. But for as strange as a character as Danhausen is he more unique than our next subject? Well,
yeah, and another thing about the character they were just talking about, I feel like he would be good, and to be honest with you, in AEW. Because if he goes to WWE, he might get lost in the shuffle because there's so many painted characters and so many good gimmicks and comedy characters in the R-Truth and Rondell Americano, aka Chad Gable and stuff like that, who can actually like really, really get behind it. I mean, he's good in the ring and everything, but I feel like he just really fits well in AEW in my honest opinion. So yeah.
Well, let's find out right now by looking at Wendy Chu. Yes, another face-painted wrestler who performs in something of a comedy style. The main thing which separates Wendy Chu from Danhausen is that rather than wrestle for AEW, she currently wrestles for WWE. But it wasn't always this way for her. No, before she took on the gimmick she currently has, Karen Q would be making a name for herself on the indie circuit in places like Ring of Honor. Once she was signed up to an NXT contract in the late 2010s, however, things would change for her character, as this was when she morphed into Mei Ying. But while Mei Ying would wear face paint, it's not her we want to focus on today. Rather, we want to focus on the gimmick which came after that, Wendy Chu. More specifically, the darker, more recent version of Wendy Chu. And that's because this is the character Karen Q plays today, with her emphasizing the new, more aggressive tone of the sleepy girl gimmick by making her face look like that of an evil clown from your nightmares. Has this proven to be successful for the New York native in terms of getting her over? Well, it's certainly allowed her to carve out a nice role in NXT as someone who could appear from time to time and have a good match, all while using her face paint to try and intimidate her opponent. And while it hasn't seen her win any titles yet, this could all change in the future. Of course, it may not be in NXT she ends up winning any titles though. No, given her recent appearances in WWE affiliated brands like TNA and Evolve, it might be that Wendy Chu ends up nabbing some gold there instead. And if she does that, it'll put her one step closer to getting that eventual main roster run then, a run which will hopefully allow her to break out and show what she can really do to a larger audience. After all, Karen Q remains a very good wrestler, and this, combined with a merchandisable friendly gimmick, could be everything she needs to find herself going to the next level within the next year or two, should the stars align in the right way. Hell, if she does make it to Raw or SmackDown in the near future, we may even see Wendy Chu get to win some gold there and earn some headline spots on big pay-per-views. We could certainly see her fitting right in with the Women's Intercontinental or Women's United States title division as it stands right now, something which would allow her to lock horns with one of the greats of modern-day women's wrestling, another performer who also uses face paint as a form of intimidation, a performer.
Yeah, Wendy Chu, she's been in NXT a while, and I remember when she first debuted that game with the little sleepy time, sleepover stuff. It's very neat, and it fits her character very well. But like Andy said, and I also agree with this as well, because me and Andy kind of got the same mindset for real. She might end up winning gold in in TNA first, and if NXT wants her to win the North American Championship, Women's North American Championship, that would be good. And So Ruka just retained tonight. Shout out to her and stuff. She faced Kehlani, Carmelo Hayes' girl, which I sleep on her too. But I ain't gonna get into that tonight. But that would be good for her. And I feel like if she would be good on the main roster as well. Like you said, United States and Intercontinental. It's a mid card now, so that would be very good. And they're actually kind of building that up now with Valkyria and my girl Selena Vega. Shout out to both of them. It's really good to see that for real. So hopefully down the road, she gets to the main roster or something. Is God forbid she gets released by WWE, she can go straight over to TNA. She would fit in perfect at TNA, really, really for real. So, but it's still with WWE and TNA collaboration and Forbidden Door kind of opening a little bit. I feel like she'll be perfectly fine either way. So yeah.
Who goes by the name of Asuka. Yes, it would be over in her native Japan that Asuka first rose to prominence as Kana, a character who often went by the nickname of the Murder Clown on account of both the face paint she wore in the ring and the violent style of wrestling she chose to execute on her opponents. And it was the notoriety she gained doing this which would eventually see her find her way over to America in 2015 when she joined the NXT roster. At this point though, her name would no longer be Kana. No, now she'd transform into Asuka, the Empress of Tomorrow. But while that character would earn her much success on the developmental brand, including but not limited to an undefeated streak and a record 522-day long run as women's champion, it wouldn't be this incarnation she'd remain in forever, or at least not fully. No, while Asuka would keep the name after moving up to the main roster in 2018, after a while there she'd begin to feel the urge to tap into her old self again. And that was exactly what happened during the early 2020s, as following a return from injury, the Osaka native would come back to the ring, now clad in that old murder clown makeup once again. Sure, she wouldn't call herself this name anymore, but the spirit of that character was very much alive and well in everything she was doing. And this would make her a key part of Damage Control when she joined up with them in 2023. Yes, even in a group which included names like Io Sky, Bayley, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai, Asuka was still able to stand out, partially on account of her vicious kicks, but also partially on account of that striking look she had. Obviously then, all of this is to say that if you see the Empress of Tomorrow coming out to the ring for a match in 2025, clad in her traditional war paint, you know she's not there to play around. No, despite now being 43 and closer to the end of her career than the beginning, she's still very much someone who enjoys inflicting pain upon her opponents in the ring. And while this hasn't led to her winning any singles titles in a while, we can certainly see this changing before all is said and done. That's right, even if she never gets another run as world champion, a spell as either Women's Intercontinental or Women's United States champion would be a great way to allow her to play to her strengths by going out there every week and having a stiff match with whoever is unlucky enough to be standing on the opposite side of the ring from her. But let's move away from the women for a moment.
Yeah, Asuka's Asuka. We all love Asuka, man. That face paint and that green poison mirror, many people don't like to take. She can hit me with that any day, man. I'm glad to take. I just be like that, man, for real. Cause I love Asuka. She's adorable but deadly. She like a Powerpuff Girl. That's what I refer to her as, but a whole lot more violent and stuff like that. But yeah, Asuka's gonna be a champion regardless when she come back, either mid card or top tier upper card main event scene, Oscar's Oscar. You put her in a role and she'll kill it for real. So yeah.
Back over to the men instead, as it's there we find our next subject, a wrestler who had only just recently entered the WWE system, but who's already proven himself to be a hit with fans. That's right, it's time to talk about Penta. Now, many fans will have been aware of Penta for a long time now because throughout the 2010s he was doing his best to bring Lucha Libre to the forefront with his work in places such as AAA, CMLL, and Lucha Underground. And when he wasn't doing this, he was also making regular appearances for American indie promotions like Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Major League Wrestling as well. And while he would wear a traditional lucha mask while he was performing in these places, he'd also have face paint on underneath that too, meaning he really was going whole hog when it came to trying to get into his opponent's heads. Yes, perhaps in case an opponent tried to remove his mask mid-bout, a big no-no in lucha culture, the Ecatepec native would also take the extra precaution of painting his face in a skull makeup before he went out to the ring, something you can see if you look at the lower part of his face during matches.
Yep.
And that was a tradition he would keep up even after he and his brother Ray Phoenix became Day 1 members of All Elite Wrestling's roster in 2019. Obviously then, given how spectacular their style was and how well they meshed with other teams like the Young Bucks SCU or Private Party, the Lucha Bros would find themselves much success during the 5 years they were there, with them at one point even becoming tag team champions after besting Matt and Nick Jackson in a great cage match at All Out 2021.
Yep.
And after his time there was over, he'd head over to WWE in early 2025 to embark on a singles run. How have things gone for him since he's done this? Great thus far, as the combination of his mask and his face paint have made him a hit with fans, with this also having the knock-on effect of making him a ton of money in merchandise sales. But it's not just his look which has seen Penta make a splash in WWE. No, his in-ring style has also proven to be a hit with audiences, and that has led to him finally getting that singles push over on Raw. Sure, we have no doubt that he'll end up teaming with his brother again eventually, someone who currently wrestles on the SmackDown brand, but for the time being, the Mexican star seems happy to do his thing as a solo act and go after the Intercontinental title. And who knows, with WWE having recently purchased AAA, it might mean we see Penta make a return to Mexico at some point down the line to have a match with a performer such as El Hijo del Vikingo. One person we probably won't be seeing in AAA anytime soon though will be our next subject, another recent WWE signing who hails from Chile and who also likes to dance.
Yeah, before we get to Stephanie Spencer. Yeah, Penta is amazing, man. I've been following Penta here since Triple H as well, AEW, especially AEW. And also, if it's not being at Takeout Dome, it might be Penta for real. Because Penta, once he gets singles gold and Intercontinental Championship, he gonna hold that for a minute, for real, in my honest opinion. Because I think Penta can easily be undisputed or world heavyweight champion one day, man. Because he already has the crowd behind him. He already got the aura and everything. That walk is just so magnetic. It's so good. His ring work is good, and he's even pretty good on promos for real too. So it's only a matter of time for he wins gold, man. He should have won at WrestleMania, but I ain't mad that my boy Don won. A win's a win, but he's gonna be champion, I think, for the years over with. So yeah.
And a little bit of face paint during matches. The one, the only, Stephanie Vaquer. That's right, if you've been watching NXT recently, then you'll be aware of the recent breakout star of the women's division there, Stephanie Vaquer. And while she doesn't wear a huge amount of face paint as part of her act, she certainly always has a little on to complete her look. However, she's not someone who needs to wear much in the way of face paint in order to get her point across anyway. No, she can mostly do this with her actions. What do those actions involve? Well, as far back as her days in CMLL, she was showing us her styling that mixes lucha libre with hard-hitting action to create something which usually earns her the win before all is said and done. Obviously then, given how standout she was here, it didn't take long for WWE to offer her a contract, and that would lead to Stephanie joining the NXT roster soon thereafter. How has the Chilean face-painted star been doing on the developmental brand since this point? Very well, as it happens. In fact, after only a few months there, she's already become a one-time Women's North American Champion and a one-time NXT Women's Champion, with the latter belt still being in her possession as of the time of this video's recording. Really then, it's just a matter of time until she gets called up to the main roster, and when she does, we expect to see her succeeding in a big way there too. Come on now, who doesn't want to see her lock horns with an Io Sky or a Lyra Valkyria? And who wouldn't want to find out what happens when she has round 2 with Julia? But let's move away from Booker T's favorite wrestler for now, and over to another face-painted woman who's making...
Oh, man, I love Stephanie, man. And her and Booker T. Booker T's ad-libs, her is so funny. Dude loves that girl to death, man. But, yeah, she's going to be a top star. Future World Heavyweight Women's Champion regardless, for real. She has all the looks. And her boyfriends, because you guys know she's dating, I think the dude Oba Fenty's fighting at the next NXT pay-per-view. I think it's actually today. I think, could be wrong. He's a lucky man. He really is, man. I think NXT has some of the most beautiful women in the world. I swear to God they do. But, yeah, man. He's a lucky dude. So, you better keep her, bro. Because dudes like me are on the prowl if you don't. So, just remember that, bro.
Making a name for herself on the current day WWE roster, a woman who's recently been introduced to WWE fans as Zarya. Of course, before she was Zarya though, Daria Hodder went by the name of Delta in her native Australia. And it was in Australia that between 2020 and 2024, she set about making a name for herself on the independent circuit there, not just with her power move laden in-ring style, but also with her face paint, which made her look like a character ripped straight out of Mad Max Fury Road. As you would expect then, when WWE were over in the land down under for Elimination Chamber in February of 2024, they'd take notice when they got a chance to see the Adelaide native do her thing in person. And that would lead to her getting a contract offer to join the NXT brand soon thereafter. Yes, while she might not have had the pedigree of a Julia or a Stephanie Vaquer, the other two big additions to the NXT women's division during this year, Delta would certainly have a presence about her nevertheless. And that presence was on full display as soon as she made her debut on October 22nd, with her by then going by the new name of Zarya. How has Zarya fared since this debut? Well, while she's still finding her footing on the brand, partially because she remains a rookie in many ways, there have been early signs of promise, mostly while she's been working as a part of an odd couple tag team with Sol Ruca. But then perhaps it shouldn't be a surprise that this pairing has gotten over with the NXT audience as the sight of an Australian muscle girl who doesn't speak much and a Californian surfer girl trying to make friends has been something to witness. And it's only helped to add more character to Zarya's game, characters she'll need when she eventually gets her inevitable main roster call-up. Yes, once either Raw or SmackDown comes calling, it's things like this which will help the Adelaide-born star to stand out on those rosters, all while helping her to win some titles in the process. That said, before she reaches this level, there's every possibility Zarya will win some gold on the developmental brand first, either in the form of the Women's North American Championship or the NXT Women's Championship. And if she's able to do this, she'll be one of the very few face-painted women who've been able to achieve such an honor. But what about our next subject? Another performer that's been...
Yeah, I feel like she's going to be the next NXT North American Women's Champion, because Sol Ruca, the one she's been cool with right now, is actually a current. She just retained, like I said earlier in the video, against Kelani. I feel like they're building her up to be the one to take out Sol Ruca, and once Sol Ruca loses it, she heads to the main roster, because she's way overdue to be on the main roster, to be honest with you, in my honest opinion. So,
spent some time in NXT, but mainly wrestles for TNA, that being Rosemary. Now, Rosemary is someone who's been around for a long time at this point, far longer than her current run in the Impact Zone. That's right, throughout the 2010s, she'd spend a lot of time in the indie wrestling circuit in places like Shimmer Women's Athletes, the very company where she at one point became a tag team champion alongside Sarah Del Rey. And it was there she'd stand out from the pack with her painted face, which made her look like something straight out of a zombie movie, certainly not the kind of woman you wanted to mess with. Obviously then, this intimidation factor would help Holly Lett come in to find much success and impact between 2016 and the present day, with some of her most notable moments including her 4 runs as Knockouts Tag Team Champion and her 1 run as Knockouts World Champion. But it wasn't just titles which made Rosemary a player in the TNA Women's Division. No, it was also her ability to bring the spooky, as she memorably did during the whole storyline involving Su Yung and Allie towards the end of the 2010s. What has Rosemary been doing since that angle came to an end? Plenty, as it happens. Yes, when she's not working her full-time dates for Impact, she's also finding time to do one-shots in other promotions as well. Promotions like AAA and the super indie of modern-day America, Deadlock Pro Wrestling. And then there's their appearances on NXT television. That's right, as part of the working relationship TNA and WWE now have, the Winnipeg native has been able to show up to challenge the likes of Kalani Jordan and Tatum Paxley in one-on-one competition. Clearly then, the next question many people have for the face-painted star is, will this eventually see her make the jump over to WWE full-time? It's certainly a possibility for any big TNA talent in 2025, and if she does that, will she be able to get an eventual main roster run where she can bring her spooky antics to either Raw or SmackDown in programs against a Rhea Ripley or a Tiffany Stratton? We guess we'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, though, we'll only be too happy to watch Rosemary do her thing on Impact, and there show why sometimes wearing face paint can be a big positive to a wrestler's whole presentation. But then the same could be said about everyone we've looked at today, as they all prove that even in the modern day, good face paint could be an important thing in getting a character over.
Yeah. All right, well, that's the end of the video about the last girl, Rosemary. I can see her in WWE. Preferably probably NXT for like a little bit. Then I can see her in the next 2 or 3 years in the couple main rosters in NXT. But she seems to be doing great in TNA, and with the partnership, like I said earlier in the video, sky's the limit, man. But that's the end of the video, guys. Thank Wrestle with Andy as always. Great YouTuber. One of my favorites as well on YouTube. Link to the original video down below. Please go subscribe to him, dude is very good at what he does, man. But other than that, guys, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and y'all have a good day. XFactor.